Welcome to this Pastel My Business online webinar.
In today's webinar, we'll be addressing how to perform a customer statement run. It's not going to be a very long session, so I have decided to bundle it as well with how to customize your own invoices and quotes and so forth. So you're more than welcome to stay for that session, but I will tell you when we continue to that. Okay, so let's get started with a customer statement run. In My Business Online, it allows you to create and distribute customer statements using different methods. Sending your customers monthly statements will provide a summary for monthly purchases, payments, according to their payment terms as well. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to log in. I'm going to take a view of the demo company. Okay, so initially, before you even get started, when you're setting up your customers, you'll need to ensure that you actually go and stipulate the different types of distribution that you'd like to send to the relevant customer. So I'm just going to go to one of my current customers, just edit that. Okay, so if you have a look at the bottom right hand side, there's a statement description. If I drop down on that, you have an option of none. In the cases of none, that's normally your cash customers, so that means there's no terms to their payment, and when goods are received, there is cash paid immediately. So you have that option of none. Otherwise, you have an option of just printing. In many cases, people don't want things to be sent by email. They want purely printed. You have that option to also select printing. Then email means purely just emailing the client the statement, or otherwise you have both options, so you can email and physically print it. Okay, so initially when setting up your customers, this needs to be set up. So if you're selecting email option and you're printing it out on the statement run, which I'll show you now, it is not going to print this specific person. So if you do want to keep both options open for the relevant customer, select your last option, print and email, so you have the option of both of those. Okay, so once you have selected that, you can go to Customer Statement Run. Okay, from there you'd be able to select your customer filter. So if I want to include everyone in my statement run, I can actually just do that. And then also you can also select for active or inactive customers. So if I just wanted to for all my active customers, because my inactive have already been settled, you can do that. From category, you can also go and select that. So those are the different. So if you haven't set up any categories, you wouldn't have any of that. But if you do have categories, especially if you set it up in the sense of cash, COD, anything like that, you can actually go and set up those relevant categories. If you don't have any, that's not a problem whatsoever. And then it also gives you a date range, so you've got an option to either do a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. So if you're sending it on a monthly basis, then your monthly option, and then what you can do is once a year actually send them the yearly one. Otherwise, you can send them on a quarterly basis. It really depends on what's been set up in your company and what works for your company. So you have got those options, and you can also select for previous periods as well. So last month. So let's say you might have forgotten, you can go and do last month or even last year, just to keep up to date on that if any of your clients do have queries. Okay, so if you do select monthly, you can also go back, like I said, go back to the relevant month. Okay, then include zero balances. You've also got an option to, maybe you've got a customer who has already paid up all of it, but you just want to keep them up to date to say, okay, well, your balance is still zero. You can include zero balances, so that when they receive their statements, it will be zero, but at least they'll have an overview of what is going on your guys' side. Show details exactly as it stipulates. That gives you a complete breakdown, so what's been invoiced, what's been paid, and so forth. Okay, and as I mentioned, when setting up your customers, you've got your different options, the distribution. So if you have a look at the options we've got there, we've got print all statements, so that is just a general printing everything. Otherwise, you have a print and email, which was the last option, like I said. So you have an option either to print it or otherwise do both and email it. Otherwise, just print. Well, print all would give you an option to print everyone's, or otherwise print as per customer settings. So everyone who's been set up just to print will print out, And everyone on your last option, email as per customer settings. So everyone who's set up as just email, that will be, it will only be emailed to those specific people. If you have a look at the bottom, you've also got a CC option, which is quite great, especially when you're sending things by email. It's nice to keep track to make sure that it is actually sent out. So what you can do is put in your email. It normally defaults to the email setup in your company setup, and then as well as subject. So you can say March statement run, and then as well put in a message. These are my details. Please call me if you have any queries. I mean, that's purely to your discretion on what you want to put in there. Okay, so I mean, that's pretty much on a customer statement run. So I'm just going to run through that again. So when you're setting up your customers, and please feel free to ask me any questions as we're going through this. Okay, so when you're setting up your customers, ensure that on the main customer screen, your statement distribution is selected according to the customer specification. So like I said, there's an option to print, email, otherwise print and email, so you can do both for that specific customer. Okay, then once that's been set up on all your customers, you can go to the customer statement run. And the thing is, I mean, you don't have to set up that customer distribution. Like I said, if it's a cash sales customer, you don't, I mean, in the end, they don't really want a statement because there's no terms to their contract or anything like that. Okay, so when you're in your customer statement run, you can go select range. So even if you just want to do it for one specific person, you actually have that option, and you can keep it just as follows. If you want to do it for everyone, I mean, even leave it as blank, and the system will default it to be everyone. From there, you've got an option active or inactive. So if you have a look at your list of customers, just to go back to that screen, you'll see there's a tick on the, well, on top there you've got a tick forward to say they're active or not active. So if you have indicated that a customer isn't active, that would be the statement made there. So you'd go and select only your active ones to exclude those guys. Okay, so I just want to go back to that customer statements screen. Okay, so from there what you can do is from category, go and select your categories if you've got that set up. So I mean, whether it be cash, credit card, EFT, you've got those options. You've also got your date range. Like I said, you can either select monthly, quarterly, or yearly, and you can also backtrack. So if you select yearly, you can also go last year or the years before, depending as well on how much data you've actually physically been processing on the system. Okay, then you've also got an option to include zero balance accounts. Okay, so this means anyone who, let's say their account is up to date and they don't owe you anything, this will still send them a statement just to give them a view of that the balance is still zero. Show details is a complete breakdown, so there you can see the invoice number, the amount for that invoice, the date, also when payment was received. So a very nice breakdown of exactly what has happened within that month or year or quarter. Okay, print all statements. As I said, in your setup for your customers, you have an option to specify your distribution. So it's print all statements. Okay, so that would be everyone, just printing that physically out on your computer. Otherwise, you have print and email as per customer settings. So you have an option where it will print it and then email it to the relevant customer. Otherwise, print as customer settings. So everyone who's been set up as just print, they will just print. And then same with your last one, email as per customer settings. So everyone who's set up as only email, that email will only be sent to them. So ensure that when you're setting that up, it is 100% correct, because many times that setting might not be correct and you're thinking the customer might be receiving that email. But in fact, they're not, because they might have a print option set up. So just run through all your customers and just make sure that that is 100% correct. As well, we've added the option where you can CC. So, I mean, you can change that email address if you'd like. And tick the box. Say you want to CC that relevant one. Like I said, that defaults to your email setup in your company setup. And then as well, subject you can put as just statement run or customer statement or March statement. And then as well, just a message. I mean, whether it be your contact details or just a small message, say this is your account details, please pay within this period. So that's purely to your discretion what you can use. I see I have a few questions, so I'm just going to quickly go through that and then answer. I've got a message from Bertus. A lot of clients would like a copy of their invoices too. Is there any easy way to send it? We do have an option, Bertus. Let me just quickly go there. If you go to your quick views. Okay, so all I did is I went to quick views. From there, I went to go and select the relevant customer. Okay, then what will happen is all your invoices will display. So you have an option to select all. And then from there, you can either email all those invoices or print those invoices. So you can actually do that. So if those are all your unpaid, otherwise you can say all transacting. And from there, email all those tax invoices through to the customer. And the same you can do on the supplier side. So what I would suggest is, Baptist, in that sense, if you want to print out, well, if you want to send them all the invoices, go to your quick view. From there, select the relevant customer, and then from there, print or email it to your specifications. I hope that answers your question, Baptist. I've got a question from Yanni, if I'm not mistaken. He wants to know, would it be possible to fax the statements? Unfortunately, Yanni, a fax facility is more linked to an actual telephone facility. So what I would suggest is if your customers do want to fax it, maybe your option would be to first print it out and then from there fax it. There won't be a direct link on, faxing it at the moment. I mean, so my best option there would be rather print it out and then from there fax it to the relevant person. Got another question from, sorry, I just want to go through that question from Lee. Okay, Lee, I'll get back to your question. I just want to make sure that I completely understand that. I've got a question from Belinda. Belinda wants to know, can I print a statement more than once? Yes, you can, Belinda. You can actually, that's in your date range where you can actually go back and say, let's say monthly, and then go and select last month and actually do that again. So yes, you do have that option. And as well, I mean, if you're unsure about whether you've actually done that statement or not, that statement run, you can actually go to your reports. The option at the bottom says other. There's an audit trial. From there, you can go and select show all, deleted. I'm going to leave it as deleted, and then from there you can select monthly or otherwise quarterly, and then also display users and then view reports. So you'll see if you have run that statement run, you can actually go and see what exactly was done on the system. So it will actually tell you that that statement run was emailed to the relevant clients. Just to go report customers and then email sent to customers. So this is on your emailing side of things. If you want to view what statements have been sent. So this is in a case where you're purely working on email sends and not printing. You can actually go view reports. From there, the system will actually tell you who was it sent to, recipient's email address, and then also the time. Okay, I just want to quickly go. I've got a question from Tanya. Tanya, exactly the same way. She wants to know, can you email all quotes as well? Exactly the same setup as if you want to do invoices. You'll see on your quick view you have an option of unpaid invoices, all transacting or otherwise quotes. So if you want to select quotes, it will appear all quotes, but I mean, your quotes is an official document. So what you can always do is, I mean, you can go individually into your quotes and then from there print it out. Because it's not an official document, I think that's why it's avoided as from printing, where your actual invoices has been sent. It's an official document. It's more a confirmed basis. So what I would suggest is if they want, if your customers do want all the invoices, rather send them all the quotes, all the tax invoices. Okay, Monica, so you have the same question. I hope that answers it. Okay, so I'm just going through some of the questions. I just want to... Kanika, I've got a question from you. I just want to understand, I mean, are you referring to, you want to know whether the VAT was deducted on the invoice or not? Maybe if you could just elaborate for me on that specific question. Okay, I'm going to answer as the questions come along. I will actually go through it. Are there any more questions on the customer statement run? Because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over now to the report designer and show you, you know, how you can possibly customize your quotes, your invoices, your customer returns, and so forth. It will be a very high level overview of it, so you have an idea where to go and how to get that set up. So I'm going to log in so long and go through that. By all means, if you've got any questions with regards to the customer statements, please send that through. From there, I'll answer any questions as I'm going along on the report designer. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to log out of my company. Okay, so with My Business Online, we've made it possible as well that you don't have to stick to our standard format. So you can change your quotes, your tax invoices, your returns, whatever it might, well, and your statement run. So not your physical reports, but your actual documentation. So this you can change according to what you need, and also you can also put fields in there to assist you. So if you have a look on, when you're initially on the home screen, there is an option for downloads. Okay, so on that download screen, we have got a My Business Online report designer for Windows. So what initially you need to do is you need to download that report designer. Okay, so once you have downloaded that, on your desktop, you'll actually have an option where it says My Business Online Report Designer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open that. It's going to run. I've got a question from Nicole. She wants to know whether the report design, if we have the report designer for Mac. No, Nicole, not as yet. It is only Windows-based at this moment. But if you do need assistance on actually editing it, we can assist you from our side with that. Okay, so initially when that opens, you will log in with exactly the same details that you would log into your normal My Business Online. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly log in there. Okay, so once I put in my username and my password, okay, just a bit of a typo there. Okay, great. So initially when you are logged in, it will bring up the following screen, a report designer. From there, you can actually go and select the layout. So what it means by layout, it wants to know what report you want to pull, well, what report you want to pull up and which one you want to design. So if you're looking at on the customer side, amending those reports, you can go to your quotes, tax invoices, and customer returns. Otherwise, your customer statements, you can also add fields there or amend that if need be. And then also on your supplier side, your purchase orders there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with the quotes on the customer side. Okay, on your side you won't see the below. You'll only see a default option. Only as you start creating your own report, you'll actually see all of that. So I'm going to click on default and then from there design. Okay, I've got a question from Paula. She wants to know how do I add a fax number and a telephone number to the invoice. I'm going to go all through that and then I'll actually show you how that is done. Okay, so initially, so your invoice will come onto your screen similar as what you're seeing now, right? So this is, if you take an actual invoice that you'd be looking at, I think that would be your starting point to see exactly what you want to change on there. So in this case, I mean, you've got your logo on the side, you've got, so that will indicate your report text, whether it's quotation, whether it's an invoice. So from there, if you want to change it, you can actually change it. So let's say I want to move it up. I can move it up and I can make it small. So all these blocks you can move, and if you want to move everything at the same time, so let's make the logo really small and you want to move all of this content up, you can actually select that. Also, all I did was just draw a big block and from there drag it up and everything will move up. So everything is pretty much on a, how could I say, you can adjust the size and move it. So I mean, initially, like I said, you'd have to take one of your invoices and decide exactly what it is you want on that specific invoice and what you want to remove, what you want to add. If you want to remove something, so let's say overall discount, you don't work with that, you can actually just go and say delete on that, and then also the field, delete it, and it will actually remove it. And same, if you want to remove the reference, you can say delete, and then also delete the reference. And then if you need to move this block up, you can actually just select it, and then from there move it up. So the system's quite nice as well. You'll see that it actually brings up like a pink line. That pink line actually stipulates and it shows you if you're in line with everything on top, because that fine detail, when it is printed, you can actually pick it up. So always ensure when you are lining it up that that is 100% lined up. Okay, so that's pretty much on, moving the things around and changing it if need be. Just make sure though, when you are deleting or adding anything, specifically, I mean, if you have a look at your number field where I'm selecting now, that is a text field, which is 100% fine. So it will always display as number. Document number, however, is a system field. So that means that needs to pull through from the system. Make 100% sure if you are creating that you link it correct, which I'm going to show you now. Okay, so initially, I mean, if you want to create a text field, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a rich text option. So you can actually click on that. From there, go to your invoice, draw block, and then from there you'll have an option. If you have a look now at the bottom right-hand side, you'll see the system gives you an option. So you can put borders if you need, so let's say all borders, so we'll draw borders all around it. You can go and select, so I mean, especially now changing the text, so currently it's rich text 1. I can change this, let's say, to a fax number. Okay, so let's say fax number. I've made it a bit big, so I'm going to make that smaller. Okay, so and then go and line it up with exactly everything else. So there I can see it's lined. Okay, so I'm going to make that a bit smaller. Okay, so now I've put in the actual text. Like I said, I mean, you can even go and adjust this. You'll see that it's currently on New Times. From there, if you have a look on your right-hand side, there's a font option. So we can go through all those tabs and have a look at it. If you make any changes, you can always set it back to the default. So it's not like you'll be changing anything on the default. So you can always start over, create another report, and actually play around with it. Okay, but if you have a look at the font, you can actually change it. So let's say I'm working in an Arial format. I can go and select what I want. So do I want it to be bold, black, regular? I'm going to select regular because it's not a heading for me. So then I'm going to say, okay, my text is a bit big, so I'll go and change it to something a bit smaller. Okay, so that looks about fine. You'll see that I've also got my branding. Then you'll also see on the top right-hand block, you've got at the bottom, there's a field list and a report one. It defaults on the report one. If you want to add a field, go to field list. Okay, on the field list, you'll see that it brings up registration information, company information. So I'm just going to quickly break this all down. Okay, so company information, document line, customer, and customer document headings. Okay, so in this case, I mean, if you want to add, let's say, the fax number, the question that I had earlier by Paula. Okay, so Paula, you mentioned that you want to add a fax number or telephone number. You'll see. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to go to that field text, go to the company option. From the company option, you've got your different options there. So let's say I see their fax number. What I'll do is I'll actually select that fax number, take it over, and then drag it onto my report until it's lined up. And then from there, I'll line it up. Like I said, use those pink lines to line everything up. So initially, now I've added the fax number. So whatever you put on the system is going to pull that through and put it next to that fax number option. You also mentioned that telephone number. So let's say you want to add a cell phone number. From there, you can actually just go and add. So like I said, your left-hand side, if you want to add that text block, go rich text, draw the block. And then from there, so the system even tells you if they're overlapping. So in that sense now where it's all pink, that means it's overlapping. So what I'll need to do is move it a bit down and line it. And so there it's not overlapping now again. Okay, so again, now I've drawn another block. It will give me a rich text 2. From there, I know I want to go and change that text. So bottom right, I'll scroll down to where it says text. From there, change it to, let's say, cell phone. Cell phone number. Okay, and then I also want to change it to Arial because that is the format that I'm working on in my, okay, regular is fine, and then I'm going to set it to 9. And then from there I can say okay. Okay, so I'll see I don't have enough space there. I'll just stretch out that block a bit more. Okay, now I'll have a look on my field side. Okay, there I see mobile number. So from there, I'm going to drag it across and line it up next to them. So it's a very, very simple and easy. You need to define first what it is you want on the current invoice and also have a look at a practical printed out invoice and see what you want to move and what you want to change on that specific invoice. Just as well on the logo, I mean, you can change your logo completely. You can select this to move this all up. Okay, so just get that line. And what you can do is even put your logo at the bottom of all of that. This you can centralize it and put it in the middle. I mean, you can fully move everything around you. You can either, let's say, I don't want my company information to display. I can select that and just actually delete it and say I just want postal. I mean, if you don't want postal next to one another, well, below one another, you can actually put it next to one another and just move the fields over. Okay, so you'll have to make it a bit smaller though. But from there, you can just minimize it. So, I mean, this you can fully work to according to maybe what you're used to on a quote or invoice side of things. But besides that, you can just move it around, adjust it, delete what you need, what you don't want actually to appear on there, and also put in what you might. I mean, you can go through all the tab on the right-hand side. I mean, there's a lot of information you can add, even on a customer side. I mean, you can select also create limits to print on their email addresses. You can add the email addresses, fax, postal, telephone number. So all of that you can definitely add on there, and same on your description side at the bottom. I mean, let's say you don't want unit price or discounts. Let's say you don't do discounts at all. You want discounts not to appear. You can actually click on the discount option, delete it completely. And then also at the bottom, delete the discounts option. And then from there, that will, if you want to align it more, you can actually just click on it from there, align it. Like I said, always make use of that pink line that appears because that lines it up perfectly. So you can do that as well. I mean, if let's say you use your comment block for, you know, your terms and conditions of your contracts or whatever that might be, you can actually go and put in your banking details somewhere else because normally many people use that for their banking details of banking detail options. If that is completely full with your terms and conditions, by all means, go manually put in create a text box and start putting in your banking details and line them below one another. I mean, like I said, majority of these fields aren't ever used. Some of them might be. But you can move all of this up on top here and put that in. So you've got those options. I mean, you can even put the banking details here or even on your right-hand side. You can also draw border lines as well. So you do have those options as well to add your banking details besides adding it actually on the company setup. Okay, I've just got a question, sorry, from Paula. Yes, Paula, that's 100% correct. So same would be for your customer. Well, sorry, let me just repeat Paula's question. Paula wants to know, when adding like a fax number or a telephone number, would it be exactly the same for, like I just did on the customer side? It would be exactly the same. The only difference is when you're creating, well, the text field doesn't matter too much because in the end it still says a fax number and it still says a telephone number. But where you extract that information on your field list, on your top right, that does matter though, because you need to distinguish, are you pulling from the company data or you're pulling from the customer data? So that would be the only major difference there, Paula. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I mean, I'm just going to touch a bit more. Well, I'm going to have a look if there's any more questions, but like I've indicated, I mean, if you need to put up a field text, you can actually go and put that there. If you don't even want to put up a field text and you just want to drag it one of the fields, so just remember when you are pulling it from the relevant side, all you need to do is click on it and drag it across. Okay, I've got a question from Nicole. She wants to know, can you get user-defined fields from items into the designer? There is an option to add through your user-defined fields. So if you have a look under your customer options, there are user-defined fields there. So you can actually go and link that to, well, let's say put on the relevant customer's information. So depending on what you have set up. So, I mean, like I said, even if you're setting up, because many cases you don't use those user-defined fields and you actually do want to make use of that. So, let's say a certain factory number for the customer or anything like that, or you can actually go and set up that user-defined field, log into your report design, and then from there drag it across so that you have that information on there as well. So, even though you might not see the field on this side and you would like to add a certain something, go to your user-defined field, set it up, and then from there you can make use of it. And I mean, this could really be anything. If you're running a medical firm and you want their medical numbers to appear on their custom fields, from there go and put in there, set up a user-defined field, a numeric one. Put in the information, their medical aid number, or otherwise even a data field. And then from there you can actually put it in there. So it would really be according to what your needs are for the company. Okay, I've got a question from, apologies if I don't get that 100% correct, Ufense. Want to know, is there an option for purchase order numbers under the customer field? Initially, I mean, if you are, I should have quickly confirm, Offense, is this initially when a purchase order from the customer system or a purchase order on your supplier side? Because when you are creating that supplier, well, the purchase order on the supplier side, that number actually it actually does default on the system, so you will pick that up. And then as well, I've got another question from Offense regarding a vendor number option. So as I mentioned earlier, you have got your text option and also your number field. So if you want to put in a vendor number, you can actually go and populate that field and then from there move it over. So go to your numeric field or otherwise your text field and drag that over if you want to put a vendor number in there. I hope that answers your question, Offensive. Okay, I'm just trying to quickly go through some of the questions. Okay, I just want to see there are a few questions coming through, so if I don't attend to all of them now, I'm definitely going to get back to you once we're done with the webinar. I just quickly want to go through everything we dealt with today. I mean, we did your customer statement run, and from there how you can set up the different means. So ensure when you are setting up your customer that you do actually stipulate it, and that is at the bottom right. So it might go very missed easy in some cases, but make sure that is set up to avoid any inconvenience of emails not being sent to your customers and so forth. As well on a report designer side of things, I mean, this is a very high overview of it. You can go very much in detail and customize the invoice. So what I would suggest is, I mean, initially download the application. From there, log in, create one of your own reports. So, I mean, initially when you are done, I just want to also show you, so let's say I've made my changes now at the moment. From there, I'll go File, Save As, and then I'll call that, let's say, Webinar Test. And then from there, okay, so, okay, I've saved that specific invoice or quote, depending on what you were setting up there. What I'll do is I'll go into my business online. I'm actually going to log into my account. Okay, so once I am in my account, let me just log in there. Okay, so now you've made your changes on that quote or invoice depending on what you were amending there. From there, I need to now go and tell the system I want to use this relevant invoice or quote. So you'll go to Company, Manage Company. From there, you'll go Edit. Okay, so once you select Edit, you'll see that there's an option where it says Report Layout. I just want the screen to refresh on your side. Okay, so just to repeat, log into your company, go to Company, Manage Companies. From there, go Edit the relevant company. Once you've done that, go to Report Layout. And then from there, see now, your layouts will always be indicated as default because that is the initial, if you haven't made any changes, that is your default one. So let's say I want to make changes and I want to go and select the webinar test. So I'll go down, well, it will be your second option. I've set up quite a few, so I've got a whole list to go down there, but it will be your second one. So if I only want it to be relevant for my quotes, I'll only go and select it. If I want it to be relevant for my tax invoices as well, I'll actually just go down and also go and make it relevant for my tax invoices. And then once that's done, go and save it. So ensure that you do this because if you don't tell the system that you're actually using, or if you don't save it, the system won't actually save in that invoice that you've created, and neither will it be affected on when you actually print your invoices. So ensure that you go into your company, manage company, edit your relevant company, and then from there go and select that quote or invoice, that report that you designed, and make sure that you save it at the bottom. So just to go quickly into this one, just to show you, but I mean, we didn't align too perfectly, but it could give you an idea of exactly. Okay, so I just want to view that to my screen. Okay, so I'm going to open that. Okay, so I mean, just to give you an example, and we did that in probably about 10 minutes. So if you want to add any fields, go along, add your fields. And if you want to go back into it, I mean, just to give you an idea, if, let's say, I see that there's something wrong on it, I can log in again with my username and password, and then the following screen will come up again. From there, I'll go and select my quotes, and then I'll go and select the relevant. So don't start from scratch again. If it's just a slight change, go again to webinar test, and then design it. Okay, so webinar test is just the name I created it for today. I mean, yours could be a new invoice or invoice. Okay, so we'll bring up the specific one. So if I want to remove the borders, I can actually go on my left-hand side, sorry, my right-hand side, and then from there where I've got borders, say none. And then there won't be any borders. So very simple setup on that side of things. I mean, you could go very much in detail on the forms design. I mean, give us support guys a ring if you do want to get very technical on that, and from there we could assist. I should give you those details as well for the support guys. Okay, so it's 011-304-3805. That's a support line. Otherwise, you can also send any support emails to support@pastelmybusiness.co.za, and the relevant persons will get back to you as soon as possible on those emails.
Thank you for joining us for this My Business Online webinar. If you found it useful, please visit the Pastel website to find out about future My Business Online webinars or training courses. Alternatively, contact us on sales@pastelmybusiness.co.za.